as you prepare a breakfast fundraiser for them. Then a couple of weeks later, I met even more of you at Christina and Roger's paella party out at their wonderful home. In both cases, I saw a group of people who cared about each other and worked well together too. But as I look at you through my interim lens, I was curious how that would translate when you were all together at church. Would there be the same kind of closeness and camaraderie? Or would conflict be more apparent? Would the welcoming that was extended to me also play out when new and different people came to a Sunday service or some other church function? Would this congregation, I wondered, be as curious and excited about spiritual depth as they seem to be about connecting with each other? You know, in churches where some of the same people have known each other for a long time, there is a danger that the congregation can become more of a social club rather than being church. The way that I define this is that people are more interested in preserving what they have, whether that be the lights that don't work, which might actually work. They become more interested in preserving what they have than in continuing life journeys that include growth and change. People in these congregations are wonderful and warm with each other, but are not very welcoming of new people, especially people who are different in any way. Happily, gratefully, I found that this was not the case here at First Parish Church, Kingston. Someone is on your side. Truly, no one is alone here. I have found you to be open to change, to be interested in Sunday services and other programs that offer spiritual depth, and to be warm and welcoming of all who enter these walls. You have been with each other through some very difficult times in your lives, some horrific tragedies, and you continue to remain steadfast in your commitment to be there for others. And here's just one example. Last month, a few of us attended a transgender awareness event that was held at First Parish Plymouth. Floyd Bouchard spoke movingly about how this church and these people have become a family of support and encouragement to him. Now, as a transgendered man, Floyd embodies a differentness that can make us feel confused and uncomfortable. Yet you have been able to deal with those feelings and fully embrace and support him for who he is and the struggles that he faces. So as was mentioned earlier, Floyd had bariatric surgery on Thursday that removed a large portion of his stomach. And I'm very proud to say that it is members of this church that have supported him through this. It was Joan Thompson Stein who was there when he came out of recovery and helped him settle into his room. And if he were coming home today, Kathy would be the one to pick him up and bring him home. And I visited Floyd on Friday. Joan and Isaiah went back yesterday, but I got his permission to share his story with you. this is just one of the many examples I see of the ways that you support each other in times of struggle, pain, and even trauma, as well as some wonderfully joyful times. There is a depth here and a connectedness that proclaims loudly and strongly that you are what I would call a real church. That you were there with each other for the long haul. The Rev Dan King brought a time of stability and strength to this congregation after a decade of struggle. As you contemplated what would happen next, I'm sure many of you were a bit scared or unsettled. You didn't know what to expect, and you were perhaps feeling a bit insecure about your future. I hope this year and next will give you the strength and confidence to know just how great a congregation you are. You can build on the best of what you know from Dan's ministry and mine to determine the kind of ministry you need next. That's part of the gift of interim ministry. You get to see a different style of ministry. You get to decide whether you like that or not, or what parts of it you like. And most importantly, you get the strength and the courage, hopefully, to accept change. Interim ministry, this transition time between settled ministers, creates an open system. We human beings don't like open systems. It can be unsettling. We want things a little more neatly packaged with the loose ends tied up. But like in this morning's reading, the gift of interim ministry, of keeping an open system, is that you then have the opportunity to turn on the lights and to wash the windows. You use the gift of that open system to spend the summer cleaning out these 3 buildings. Finding things that were lost, like some of your legacy silver. And throwing out things that didn't matter anymore. And you need an interim minister to help keep that system open. To ask questions about the way you do things and to offer suggestions about who you might become. And I know that this has been a good year. I feel blessed by my ministry with you and appreciate the praise that I have received. The talk I heard of wishing that I could stay is partly an attempt to close the system, to lessen the anxiety about your future and breathe a sigh of relief. Oh, we've got this now, we don't have to worry about that. And we can't do that because there's more work to be done. Now, I suppose I could have been the kind of minister who stays remote and aloof from the congregation and made suggestions and changes from a detached place. You've had that. It hasn't worked. Personally, and I don't think it works, I think it's better for an interim minister to be engaged with the life of the church, build trust, and then to do the interim work from that place of trust and togetherness. You know, I learned long ago that all relationships come to an end one way or another. And it's one of the great paradoxes of life to remain intimately engaged with people all the while knowing of life's impermanence. It's a good practice for all of us. And there's some changes to become that will be challenging. Our work this year has been a little more focused on looking within, strengthening some congregational systems, and some spiritual doings and spiritual deepening. With this being your 300th anniversary year, it's been important to look at your history and glean some of what you might learn from those who have gone before and from some of the struggles that you and your ancestors have faced. Next year, we will continue this work and we will focus a bit more on your mission and your social justice ministry. I will be asking more questions about who you are and could be in the larger world. I will challenge you to bring new people in, to grow your membership, and especially with the help of the new Director of Family Ministry and Religious Education that we will be hiring, to increase your outreach to children and families. One issue that will be controversial is that I will challenge you in the next year to become a year-round church with services every Sunday. I know it's been a great relief to have permitted you to have the summer off from Sunday services and other activities, but that doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve this community. You know, this is a practice that comes from the Unitarian side of our history. A couple hundred years ago or so, members of Unitarian churches tended to be the most wealthy and elite people in the community. Outside of the Sunday service, there were very few, if any, other kinds of programs that were offered. Everyone in town belonged to the same couple of churches. During the summer, many of the ministers and members left for their summer homes. Weren't even in town. No point to have services. Our lives and our congregations are very different today. Not everyone in town knows our church schedule. There are other kinds of programs that need to happen to keep people connected and engaged. Today, there are only a small handful of UU churches that still close for the summer, and they're all in New England, and mostly in the greater Boston area. The last bastion of our Unitarian and old Unitarian heritage. This is not a practice that will help you grow and be stronger. Summer services, in addition to being a source of continuity and a chance to keep people connected, also give you the chance to experiment a bit, to try new things. They are often lay-led, and some of the best ones are non-homiletic. That means they don't center around the sermon. Many times people in the group are given an idea, a story, a short message, and invited to share. The music is different, more chants perhaps, some drumming, no choir, and hymns that can be sung with little accompaniment. During the 10 years I was in Dorchester, it was my experience that more new families visited during the month of August than at any other time of the year. Families are just moving to the area, parents are getting their kids ready for school. That's when they think about finding a church that will help teach religious values to their children. And you're missing out by being closed. In fact, I noticed last summer there wasn't even a sign on the door explaining their schedule to any that might have visited. So this summer, the worship committee and I will begin doing services the first Sunday in August. We will add the 4 Sundays in August and the Sunday of Labor Day weekend to the schedule. Summer services will be held at the Field House, and I will lead the last 2 in August. And then during the regular church year, we'll all have a chance to talk about this and make some plans for the following summer. I think the search committee will find that most, if not all, the potential candidates they talk to will welcome and be encouraged by a change to a year-round schedule. It's what most of us clergy are looking for now. I firmly believe also that a congregation's outreach mission is central to what makes it viable. You have no real future without being a visible place in the community that fosters progressive religious and moral values. Your rainbow flag is a strong beacon of acceptance and welcome. But you know, we also need to look more closely at issues of anti-racism, white privilege, and economic justice. And we'll do that next year. In Unitarian Universalist churches, the members own the property and make all the decisions. But you know, in truth, this church does not belong to you. It belongs to God. It belongs to the spirit of life and love. It belongs to the future. It belongs to your children and theirs. It belongs to its mission. It belongs to whoever out there needs this place of support, deep spirituality, and the call to service. You and I, we are merely the caretakers of that great legacy. Let's do it well. Amen, and blessed be. Our final hymn this morning